everyone, and we're going to look at factoring by grouping. Now, how do you know you're supposed to use factoring by grouping? Here's a little hint. Whenever you have four terms, you're going to use factoring by grouping. So here I has 1, 2, 3, 4. As long as I see four terms, I'm using factoring by grouping. And as the keyword says, grouping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group my first two terms together, and then I'm going to group my last two terms together. Once you've grouped your terms, you're going to use something that you've been taught before, which is GCF factoring. So I'm going to go here, and you're going to perform a GCF factor on each grouping. So here I have 32 and 40, and you ask yourself what number would divide 32 and 40 evenly. The answer is 8. And then I notice that x is common to both terms. And remember, we take the smallest variable, the variable with the smallest exponent. So you're going to factor out x. So your GCF for this first grouping is 8x. And when I divide 32 divided by 8, I get 4. The x's cancel, leaving me with y, plus 40 divided by 8 is 5, and x squared divided by x is x. Now I move on to my second grouping. I have 12y and 15x. So I start with my coefficients, 12 and 15. What is the greatest number that would divide 12 and 15 evenly? My answer is 3. Now y is only common with the 12 and not the x, and the x is only common with the 15 and not the 12. So I can't factor out either of these variables, so my GCF is just 3. And you must have an operator in front, so that would be a plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and divide to get what's inside the parentheses. 12y divided by 3, 4y, plus 15x divided by 3, 5x. How do you know you're on the right track? Here's a little hint. Whatever is in these two parentheses must be identical. If they are not identical, you need to start over. So here, as I told the students in class, if you look at this line, what would be your GCF? It would be what's inside of the parentheses. So your GCF is the 4y plus 5x. And I told them, okay, just put your hand over the 4y plus 5x. If you do that, what's left over? 8x. And then on the other side, a positive 3. So you don't have to actually put the division sign. That's just wasting more paper. So just pick what's in one grouping and then group together the 8x plus 3. I hope that makes sense. This is your answer right here. Let's take a look at another example. I have 3mn minus 8m plus 15n minus 40. So I notice I have four terms, so I'm going to use grouping. I'm going to group the first two, and I'm going to group the second two. Notice I'm grouping the plus sign. Here, for my first grouping, I have 3 and 8. The only number that would divide 3 and 8 is 1. And if you divide by 1, you get back the same terms. So you don't need to write 1. I notice that m is common to both terms. So I'm going to divide both terms by m. So m is just my GCF. And then when I divide, I get 3n minus 8. Because that cancels and that cancels. Over here I have 15n and 40. So beginning with my coefficients, 15 and 40, the number that would divide both of these terms are 5. I can't take the n because it's only common with one term. And since that's a plus here, I'm just going to write plus 5 because that's my GCF. And then when I divide 15n divided by 5, I get 3n minus 40 divided by 5. I'm going to get 8. Notice these bubbles are identical. So guess what? Take a bubble. 3n minus 8. And then I'm just going to group together this m with this positive 5 in a bubble. M plus 5. And that's your answer. Nothing too difficult with factoring by grouping. Let's try it again. Okay, 5m squared plus 15mp minus 2mr minus 6pr. So again, I'm going to group the first two and the second two. Okay, starting here, I see 5 and 15. I can divide both of them by 5. M squared and m. So I'm going to take the m. Can't take the p because it's only common with the second term. So my GCF is 5m. Okay, I'm going to divide to get what's inside. The 5 cancels. M squared divided by m is m. Plus 15 divided by 5 is 3. The m's cancel and I'm left with p. Now when I get to my second bubble, notice here I have a negative. Whenever you have a negative leading, factor it out. So I'm going to take out the negative. And I have 2 and 6. The greatest number to divide 2 and 6 is 2. And they both have r in common. So I'm going to take r. So my GCF, I'm going to write it here, minus 2r. And then I'm going to divide to get what's in my parentheses. And it must be identical to what this is. So the negative 2's cancel, yay. The r's cancel, yay. And guess what? You have a positive m. 2 negatives gives you a positive. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And the r's cancel, leaving you with 3p. Again, look at your bubbles. They are identical. Take a bubble, m plus 3p. Whatever is outside your parentheses, we're going to group them in a parentheses by themselves. You're finished. There you go. Last one. 40x to the third minus 8x squared minus 25x plus 5. So again, 4 terms, you're factoring by grouping. So I'm going to group here, and then I'm going to group here, and then I'm going to do GCF factoring here. So 40 and 8, I can divide by 8. X is common to both terms. Remember, take the one with the smallest exponent. So I'm going to take x squared. So this will be 8x squared. Divide to get what's inside. 40 divided by 8 is 5. X to the third divided by x squared is x. Okay, the 8's cancel, the x squares cancel, so that's minus 1. I notice that here a negative is leading, so I'm going to take the negative. No one wants to follow a negative person. Take that person out. So I'm going to take out the negative. 25 and 5, both of them can be divided by 5. I cannot take the x, so my GCF is just negative 5, which I'm going to put here. And then I'm going to divide. 2 negatives gives me a positive. 25x divided by 5 is 5x. And then a positive divided by a negative is a negative. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Guess what? My groupings are identical, so I'm just going to take one of them. 5x minus 1. And then guess what? I'm going to put this and this in a parentheses by itself. 8x squared minus 5. And it's over. And that's all you do with factoring by grouping. Hope this has been helpful. Good luck on your test.